Welcome to CBS Sports HQ. Jenny Dell here. Hope you all had a great weekend. Now, all eyes, they were on the NFL Combine. GMs, coaches, fans trying to size up these future NFL stars. And when it comes to the top headlines from the Combine, here's what you needed to know. Cam Ward distanced himself from Shedeur Sanders. That's a big topic of conversation right there. Omarion Hampton closing that gap between him and Ashton Jeanty for RB1. There was no clear-cut top receiver at the Combine. Nick Emmanwori putting on a show. He became a star out there. And for more on the Combine, what these athletes did out there, let's send it over to my co-host, Jacqueline D'Agostino.
Thanks so much, Jenny. And to your point, the Combine officially in the books. So now we're looking ahead to the NFL Draft, which is on April 24th out in Green Bay. And from the Combine, gentlemen, this is Mike Renner, Emory Hunt, two guys that had a front row seat to all of the action there in Indianapolis. There were some risers, some fallers, some guys where their stock is really boosting, and then some guys not so much. Mike, we're going to start with you. Who are your risers from the Combine? Who are some of the guys that really caught your eye and could really boost their draft stock in your opinion?
The first guy has to be Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden. He came there and ran a 4.29 40. This guy was kind of in the fringe back end of the first round conversation. I think he's one of the best route runners in this draft class, but I didn't see 4.29 speed on tape. Usually when a guy runs into 4.2s, you see it at times. But he's also young. He's maybe physically developing, maybe even getting faster. I think we forget that these guys can improve once they get to the NFL. And Matthew Golden to run a 4.29, I think he put a firm stamp on his status as a first-round draft pick.
I would say Ty Robinson, number one for me out of Nebraska, the defensive tackle who ran the fastest time for that group, but also how he looked in the bag drills and everything that he did athletically checked out on the field in the bag drills and also on film at Nebraska. So he was just checking boxes left and right, which is great for him because I thought he came away as one of the top defensive performers the entire Combine.
My other guy, I'm going to go to the running back position, stay on offense. I'm going to go with R.J. Harvey.
Okay.
The UCF running back. I did not see 4.4 speed on his tape, but that's going to help his draft stock a ton because what I do see on tape is one of the best between the tackles runners in the draft class. He's undersized, 5'8", 205 pounds, and to test the way he did with his jumps and explosive numbers, I think some team's going to fall in love with him. This guy came to college as a quarterback before transferring to UCF. I don't know how he was thinking about playing quarterback at 5'8", but he was. And now he's one of the best running back prospects in the entire class. And to test the way he did, yeah, he is one of the biggest risers of this class. And I'm going to finish off with Nick Emmanwori. He is a freak of nature, this guy. 6'3", 220 pounds, tested like the most athletic safety, not just in this draft class, but of all time. 43-inch vertical, 4.38 40, and again, he's 220 pounds. This guy, one of my biggest risers in the class.
Emory, before we get to you, really quickly, Mike, R.J. Harvey, my older brother, went to UCF, so he was like retweeting the 40 time nonstop and being like, "Come on, at Jags, do the right thing." I'm like, "Hold up, man, hold on. We gotta see a little bit more from this guy." Emory, I do want to circle back to your risers. Of course, I'm going to double down here because you're giving a nod to my alma mater, the good old Florida Gators with Elijah Badger. Tell us more about this guy and run through all of your risers, starting with Badger.
Firstly, I want to say I like that Mike put R.J. Harvey out there because he has a great agility and elusiveness and makes more moves getting in and out of a jam like a New York cab. But when you look at this list here, Elijah Badger, I feel like people forgot how good he was. He transferred in from Arizona State, outstanding kickoff returner. He ran 4.4, and I watched him at the Hula Bowl go through the drills, look like a polished wide receiver. We know how good he is with the ball in his hands. I also feel like he can be utilized in the wide receiver run game, which is very underrated. At safety, Keaton Crawford out of Nevada tested through the roof at the Combine athletically. He was jumping high, ran fast, but on film as a safety, he closes on the ball rather well. So you can combine that athleticism with his ability to play center field, close on the football, maybe even match up versus some bigger wide receivers and athletic tight ends. I thought he made himself a lot of money this past week.
I love your shout out of Elijah Badger there, Emory. I think to me, the day 2/day 3 of this wide receiver class, there's not a lot of wide receivers, not a lot of guys who can survive on the outside. I watch his tape at Florida and in years prior at Arizona State, and I see a guy who really could be one of those guys at the NFL level. I think he's getting slept on, and 100% agree with Emory. He had himself a great combine.
All right, Emory, we want to move on to maybe your faller. So who are some guys that maybe, didn't really came up a little bit short? Who is making that list as of right now? There's still some time to, change things around. We don't know. But fallers for you, they are who?
the media members that couldn't stay out late in Indy. That's when you get more truth. The later you stay out, the more truth comes out from these scouts and coaches. So shout out to those that didn't go to that went to bed early. But I will say the loser for me is Josh Kelly out of Texas Tech. He plays a lot faster on film. I thought he was a 4.55 guy out there on tape, but in the 40-yard dash, he ran 4.7. He liked it so much he ran it twice. So I felt like this is a guy that's going to have to run faster at his pro day in Lubbock, because you don't want to be a wide receiver running 4.7 if you're not 6'5", 230. He has to be able to run faster than that on film.
And Mike, any of these followers that catch your eye, or an agreement, disagreement, anything like that?
Gunnar Helm, to me, the Texas tight end, to come in light, 241 pounds, that's probably about 10 pounds below you'd want him to play in the NFL, and then to run the 4.8s. I know he tweaked his ankle. Showed a picture of it afterwards.
Yeah.
That was huge after his false start in the first 40. But if you tweak your ankle, don't run the 40 then after that. I mean, he already, before he even ran that 40, only had a 30-inch vertical, which is not where you want it to be for a tight end. So a guy who I liked his tape, I had him as a day 2 guy. Running that slow is going to be difficult for him, in my opinion, to get to where he needs to be, top 75 sort of pick.
Yeah, those ankle picks on X were certainly kind of gnarly. All right, Mike, let's talk about your followers. And we're talking about a corner out of Kansas, Kobe Bryant, who had a disappointing 40, to say the least.
Yeah, at the cornerback position, you can be light or you can run the 4.5s. You can't be light and run the 4.5s. It's unfortunate that's the way of the world in the NFL, because if you're 180 pounds, the way he is, pretty much every wide receiver you face will be bigger than you.
You got to be quick.
But now the guys you face that are going to be your size at 180 pounds, well, they're all going to be faster than you, because he ran a 4.53 40, which tells me, because he plays faster than on tape, which tells me he's not 180 pounds. I think this guy who was listed at 170, he added some bad weight to run that 40. I think just get to the weight you played at, Kobe. Get down to that, because you're a 4.4 guy on tape. So you can be skinny in the NFL, but again, you can't be skinny and slow. My other two there, Harold Fannin, again, undersized tight end to only run a 4.71. He led all of college football in receiving yards. Still love his tape, but I think that firmly puts him as a tight end, not really a wide receiver. He can't sell teams on that running a 4.71. And then Princely Umanmielen. The guy was listed at 255 at Ole Miss. He was 262 at the Senior Bowl. He came in 244. He lost 18 pounds in a month, and then he ran slow still in the 4.7s. That, to me, is just a nut that I can't crack, because what are you playing at? What's your trump card? And then he goes to the drills and did not look like fluid athlete that you want rushing the passer off the edge. So I don't think he did himself any favors in Indy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Harold Fannin, because watching this film throughout the course of the season, I was waiting to see the superb athlete that you saw people talk about on X. And I'm like, okay, well, when I watch Bowling Green, I see this guy that's sort of stiff athletically. You could see the stiffness. You could see the lack of fluidity, and we saw that manifest itself in how he tested. That's not saying he's not going to be a very good receiver, a very good pass catcher at the NFL level. We saw that with Isaiah Likely, how it just didn't look right, it didn't look fluid or smooth, but he's still a fantastic athlete. So we'll see Harold Fannin probably play better than it just looks. It's just probably not aesthetically pleasing on the eye, because he's not that good of an athlete, but he's a very good pass catcher.
Emory, Mike, we certainly appreciate it. Did you guys plan this? You're literally matching, wearing the exact same sweater.
We did it at the Combine, too. We were both wearing purple one day.
Oh, okay. So
we're on the same wavelength here.
Great fashion minds think alike, I suppose. Emory, Mike, we certainly appreciate it as we are looking ahead to the draft and talking, post-Combine things. Then the conversation continues on the With the First Pick podcast. And the latest episode, the guys, of course, are recapping the Combine. There's also an interview with Ashton Genty that is in your feed right now. You can download, follow, listen wherever you find your favorite pods, or you can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.